Your body left the office or you closed the laptop, but your mind keeps running. Maybe it's a conversation that ended poorly, or an email that you shouldn't have sent, or you should have sent it differently. Or maybe it's part of tomorrow's plans playing out in variations. And while you know you're tired and you know this isn't productive, your brain keeps going on and on and on. What I'm going to show you today is how to give your brain a shutdown button. But first, why this happens? Why all the overthinking? Well, the brain doesn't distinguish between physical threats and cognitive ones. The same system that kept our ancestors alive, scanning for predators and anticipating danger, now runs full time on our inboxes, our deadlines, and performance reviews. Your brain treats work problems like survival threats. When you carry responsibility for other people, for outcomes, for decisions that ripple outward, the brain categorizes this as open loops, unfinished and potentially dangerous. And here's where it gets interesting. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that plans, analyzes, forecasts, evolved to solve problems. That's its job. So when you give it an unresolved situation, it does what is designed to do. It keeps working on it. The issue is that most problems you're ruminating at 10 p.m. aren't actually solvable at 10 p.m. There's no action that you can take. There's nothing to fix in that moment. But your brain doesn't know that. So it keeps running simulations. That happens and all that rehearsing conversations or scenarios that may never occur. Solving problems that don't yet exist or they will never exist. And this is the threat detection system working exactly as designed, just pointed at the wrong target. The reason telling yourself to stop thinking about it doesn't work is because you're asking one part of your brain to override another part that's trying to keep you safe. The analytical mind doesn't respond to commands, but to signals. I'll explain. Your nervous system operates on cues. Environmental, physical, or relational cues, where when you were at the office or at your desk, everything around you signaled work mode. The screen, the chair, the posture you held, the rhythm of your typing. Your brain absorbed all this and stayed in that state. The problem is that when work ends, most of us change the activity without changing signal. So we close the laptop but stay in the same room if we work from home. We leave the office but immediately check Slack on our phones. We are technically off, but nothing in our environment or body tells our nervous system that it's safe to shift gears. So your brain keeps running in work mode because from its perspective, nothing has changed. What you need is a deliberate signal, a short, physical, repeatable action that tells your brain this part of the day is over. Your brain learns through association. When you pair a specific action with a transition consistently, your nervous system starts to recognize it as the cue to shift. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It needs to be physical and consistent. If you work from home, change the room. Take a short walk around the block before you step into your evening. Say something out loud as you close the laptop, for example, work is closed. That might feel odd. The verbal declaration activates a different pathway than silent thoughts. Do the same thing, same day, day after day, and eventually the rhythm triggers the shift automatically. Now, even with a good threshold ritual, some thoughts will persist. The mind doesn't simply empty on command, sadly. First, understand what your brain is actually asking for. When a thought keeps returning, it's usually because your brain has flagged it as important and unresolved. It's holding on to it because it doesn't trust that it's being handled. So, give it somewhere to go. First of all, externalize the thought. Write it down on a piece of paper in a single sentence. When you externalize a thought, you give your brain permission to let go, to release it. You're saying this is handled right now, and it doesn't need to be retained. And lastly, give your mind something else to do, something else to focus on. So direct your attention deliberately towards something that requires light engagement. Listening to a podcast or having a light conversation, a physical task that you could maybe do with your hands, something that occupies enough your cognitive bandwidth without overwhelming. You're choosing where your attention goes. The goal is to give your mind something absorbing enough to hold its focus, but not so dominating and demanding that it triggers stress. Cooking works well for so many people. Maybe light a walk or exercise, playing an instrument. I'm giving you ideas, playing with the kids, playing with your dog, or even certain kinds of video games that require focus without urgency. Now, I want to address something underneath all this. If your mind runs consistently, if shutdowns feels elusive most nights, there may be a deeper pattern worth noticing. For many high responsibility people, the inability to stop thinking is linked to identity. Somewhere along the way, constant vigilance became proof of competence. The thinking feels productive because it feels like you're still working, still on top of things, still responsible. But here's what's true. Your value doesn't depend on your brain running all hours of the day. The quality of your thinking tomorrow depends on the quality of your rest tonight. The problems you're cycling through in the middle of the night will still be there in the morning, and you'll be sharper to face them if your nervous system has actually recovered. If this is you, there's work you can do to shift it at the root. The work takes longer than what a video can accomplish, but it begins with awareness. I work with both the conscious and the subconscious minds to rewrite this and similar patterns. With the conscious mind, we work with awareness and insight and run protocols and rituals, closing the loops, while with the subconscious, we rewrite the code. That's what I do in private and group sessions. If you want to experience the work, check the links below.